Hi, I'm Kirby Franze, and I will be discussing the question from week 3 for media history 5320. And just to go over what the question is, as I'm sure you all know, the First Amendment has been hotly debated over the years, from kids wanting to wear certain clothing to school to music groups getting in hot water over political comments. Discuss the concept of First Amendment rights and how they either apply or do not apply to a real world issue. So the argument that I'm going to be making will be about whether or not the silencing of many religious groups during the recent COVID-19 pandemic was fair according to the First Amendment. I'm going to try not to read from a script verbatim the entire time, but I'm not super great at, even during my undergrad giving presentations and things like that. I still most of the time had something in front of me, so I'll try to get better as the semester goes on to not read entirely from a script the entire time. So bear with me, and I apologize in advance. This has been a serious issue, as I've been seeing it in the news constantly. During the beginning of the pandemic, religious groups were basically being told that they couldn't gather. They were having to all go remote, go virtual, and as you can imagine, for churchgoers and those churches, this created conflict when it came to their First Amendment rights, especially with the clauses and the freedom of expression, freedom of religion that are all encompassed in the First Amendment. So as the constitutioncenter.org states, courts in the United States have struggled to find a balance between the religious liberty of believers, who often claim the right to be excused or exempted from laws that interfere with their religious practices, and the interests of society reflected in those very laws. So to cite a particular case that I found so many. There's a vast amount of these cases that these churches have taken to the court to try to, during COVID, to try to win and fight for their First Amendment rights that they felt like were getting violated. This is a quote from an article from mtsu.edu. A Nevada church asked the U.S. Supreme Court to clarify that the houses of worship and comparable secular entities should be treated equally during the coronavirus pandemic. But the justices said no. That was a report from the Christian Post. Without comment, the High Court denied the petition by Calvary Chapel. In that article by the Christian Post, it states that Calvary Chapel, Dayton Valley, asked the High Court to rule in the merits of Nevada's in-person worship restrictions, arguing that they were stricter than others that have been struck down. In a brief order released Monday without comment, the Supreme Court denied the petition of Calvary Chapel, even though the church had the backing of 19 attorney generals. Calvary Chapel sued Nevada last May, accusing Governor Steve Sisolak of putting stricter limits on in-person worship gatherings than secular businesses like casinos and things of that nature. I believe there was a tanning salon that was also mentioned in other articles I read related to the same topic. According to the lawsuit, churches could only have 50 people in attendance regardless of the size of the building, while secular businesses like casinos, gyms, they could operate at 50% capacity. After a district court ruled against the church, Calvary Chapel appealed to the Supreme Court, which in July of last year declined without comment to suspend the state restrictions. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch authored a one-page dissent to the decision, arguing at the time that in Nevada, it is better to be in entertainment than religion. Maybe that is nothing new, but there is no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel, he added. Last December, a three-judge panel for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit unanimously ruled in favor of the church allowing churches to hold in-person worship services at 25% capacity. Earlier this month, the church filed a petition with the Supreme Court, having concluded that the circuit court ruling did not go far enough in giving them equal treatment to secular entities. This petition is the court's last opportunity to issue a merits opinion this term, settling how lower courts analyze the interplay between COVID-19 emergency orders and free exercise rights. Read a brief from the church, and that's the end of that article. So, like I said, there was so many instances of these churches filing because their First Amendment rights had been infringed upon. One was from December 18th. Nevada's a 50-person limit on religion assemblies violates the First Amendment. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled, as Forbes reported. A 3-judge panel of the appeals court found the governor's order unlawful and that it was tougher on houses of worship than on businesses, which were then allowed 50% capacity. The current restriction is 25% capacity, which the court said the state should apply across the board as the district court reviews the limits. And this is just, I have so much on all of these, but I will digress from that. But as we know from the text, from page 109, that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. One of the things I highlighted in there was the religion part, and then I went and was researching the fact that the freedom of religion and the First Amendment, it's all encompassed in there with the freedom of expression. Our book goes into detail on that. After it talks about the First Amendment, it talks about James Madison and the freedom of the press and how he was more focused on the religious aspect of things, because that was very important to him, but he was also it was also very important to him for it to be a choice for people. I have a quote from the Free Exercise Clause from constitutioncenter.org, where James Madison, the principal author of the First Amendment, eloquently says, it is the duty of every man to render to the Creator such homage and such only as he believes to be acceptable to him. This duty is precedent both in order of time and degree of obligation to the claims of civil society. The answer that is given the current pandemic states and courts around the country, my answer is that they are having to make tough calls on what is constitutionally allowed while in the midst of a pandemic. It would appear, given everything I've just stated, that in some cases the church has gotten unfair treatment when it comes to being treated fairly in accordance with their First Amendment rights. However, it is obvious that the courts think they have made the right decision and clearly are acting in what they deem is in best accordance to the law. As Craig in our video from Module 1 for Week 3 stated in our crash course about government and politics concerning the freedom of religion, court rulings when it comes to religion are sticky and unpredictable. In the video, he states on one of the concepts when he's talking about the children, he goes into some of the details of the laws when it comes to freedom of religion. And if you haven't watched that video, I highly encourage watching it because it's really interesting when it comes to freedom of religion and how it pertains to particularly what I'm talking about. One of the last things that I wanted to say was that according to Britannica.com, the court acknowledges that many laws had to be applied to everyone, including to religious objectors. But the court held that such religious exemptions could not be denied only if denying them was necessary to accomplish a very important government goal, and if the law in question was the least restrictive means of achieving that goal. That rule became known as the Sherbert/Yoder test, which I think is what they're probably having to take into consideration right now with all of the COVID going on, or when it first started happening. They're having to take a lot of that into consideration and just do what they think is best, given these situations where they're trying to prevent spread and things along those nature. As my last statement, I wanted to say that if Madison were alive today to see how the courts are handling COVID-19 in response to churches, I think he would have some choice words to say. I appreciate y'all watching my video. Once again, sorry for reading so much from my text, but I appreciate y'all watching and look forward to your feedback, and I hope y'all have a good night. Thanks.